Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tea Time Tuesday again. It's so excited to see you today. Today is a great day to pause, a great day to stop and to reset ourselves and to get ourselves in a position to relax and to take notice of what's around us so that we can start to hone in on resilience, building resilience in this community that we're in. So we're so excited that you're here once again to Tea Time Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. So excited to see you, Monique. And I see Dr. Brown, my dad, is tuning in today. How you guys doing this afternoon? I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everyone has brought their tea with you today and your journal. Your tea and your journal, because today we are really going to go in like we did last week for a time of talking about part 3 of the gift of being you. And I want to just say welcome to everyone to the Renewal Center's Tea Time Tuesday. I want you to, if you can, go and invite your friend, tag your friend, post this on your social media pages so that we can let people know that the Renewal Center is streaming live today, and we're so excited. We're also streaming live over there on YouTube on the It's Patrick Brown page. So if you know someone that uses YouTube, direct them to YouTube so they can join in on the discussion today. Get your journals ready today because we will be discussing part 3 of the gift of being you. We will take a look at 4 areas of tyranny that challenge the gift of being you. So I'm so excited. I want to just say hello to everybody. I see Shirlena out there. Hi, Shirlena. It's good to see you this morning. Hope you're doing well. This is Art Appreciation Month here at the Renewal Center, and we're so excited because we're celebrating artists. We're celebrating artisans. We're celebrating the creativity, the craftsmanship, and the workmanship of those that do things with their hands. We're so excited. Those that create things, those that are creative expressions, they create things, Lord, and I'm so excited about it. And we're so excited because art is a core component of the Renewal Center. It's a core component because we are the center for prophetic thought, art, voice, and action. So without further delay, we want to move forward today with our tea of the week. I guess you guys are wondering, well, what is the tea of the week? And you know what? I'm excited because I'm drinking this today, and our tea of the week is coconut tea. I guess you guys are wondering, what? Coconut tea? Isn't that amazing? Coconut tea. How many coconut lovers do we have out there? I see you, Keisha. How are you this morning? How many coconut lovers do we have? Let's get a little interaction this morning. Give me some thumbs up if you like coconut. I know I love coconut. And we have coconut tea. There's a coconut tea that you can create. And coconut tea is a combination of green tea or the regular black tea, and you bring in coconut milk. I see some thumbs up. So some of you already like coconut tea. Okay, you're joining in with me. I love coconut tea. It's a mixture. It's a great soothing mixture that I like, actually. And it's a herbal mix. It's added, the hot tea is added along with the coconut milk to create a very nice soothing drink. And it's highly enjoyable to many people. And again, it's a great combination. So I would love to hear about your experience with coconut tea. And moving right along is our book of the week. We're staying focused on prayer, continuing for the rest of this month of August. You got to excuse me. I don't know what I thought about April. August. We're continuing in the month of August with books on prayer. And so right now I'm going to show the dimensions of prayer, cultivating a relationship with God. This is our book that's in the thought room in our in-house library. And I'm going to give you a little bit of information about this book, which is a very good book. And, this book is about prayer and acknowledging our dependency on God, his love and his power. That is so profound. And we know prayer to be communing and communicating with God. So developing and cultivating a strong prayer life is so essential for us to hear what God is saying to each and every one of us. And so I'm so excited. Hey, Nicole, it's good to see you too joining in. And those of you that we cannot see that is already logged in over there on YouTube. So without further delay, we're going to move forward with Tea Time Tuesday today. And here is our executive director, Patrick J. Brown.
Hello, Carmela. Welcome everyone to Tea Time Tuesday. So glad to have everyone here. If you're out there watching us on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and like it. If you're out there watching us on social media, please go ahead and share this. Send it to your friends, send it to your family. Let them know we are here at the Renewal Center for Tea Time Tuesday. What is our focus? Focusing on rest, resetting, and to increase in our resilience. That's right. We have our community that we connect with. So go ahead, please, if you will, go ahead and share this, tag your friends, connect with those that are out there. So what's your tea for today? Please share with us. What is your tea for today? I want to also just share with you one of the reasons why we created this tea time, just to give you some background. Years ago, when I lived overseas in Germany, I actually grew up there between 5th grade and 8th grade. And my mom used to take me out on a balcony. We lived in this stairwell, and we were in Wiesbaden, Germany. And I remember when she used to say, hey, come on, Pat, let's have a conversation. And she used to make tea, and we would have dialogue. And ever since then, I've always equated this time of sitting down and engaging in conversation as a way of remembering my mother, but also to foster an atmosphere of connection. And so one of the things we wanted to do here at the Renewal Center, one of our tenets is to renew minds and to restore lives. And we do that by everyone coming together, and we can foster resilience by everybody recognizing they have a part in the conversation. And so that is why we created Tea Time, to focus specifically on taking a time to pause to rest, taking a time to reset in the midst of the busyness of our lives, and to increase in our resilience. So just wanted to share that with you. I'm not sure if I had an opportunity to talk about that, but that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about why we do what we do and the way that we do it. All right, got some answers coming in here. Miracle Tree, Moringa Organic, Tea, Apple, and Cinnamon. All right. What else we got?
That sounds great.
That does sound good. Wow. Purple Kai and Blueberry Green Tea. Wow. Nice. What else we got here? London Fog Earl Grey with milk and lavender.
Oh, now that sounds like a good combination right there. Okay, Nicole.
I appreciate this. This is some interesting mixes today. Last week was like ginger. Today it's more mint and fruity. Very good. Peppermint tea. All right. Yes. So folks, I think that I just want to encourage you, make sure every Tuesday at noon, set your calendars for our conversations. This month we've been focusing on the gift of being you, all of August. And we'll have a theme for September as well. And last week we touched base on a few things, and I want to recap if we can. So let's see. Daphne said something. What Daphne said? Let's see. No tea today. That's all right. I got my coffee here too, Daphne. You're good.
That'll work.
All the Irish cream. All right, I got my hazelnut. So cheers to you. Before we get started, folks, let's take a moment, if we will, and let's pause for the day, and let's locate ourselves, if we will. Take about 30 seconds, and let's locate ourselves, get in a good posture, get in a good position, so we can have our discussion today during tea time. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Let's get these numbers up. So please make sure that you're sharing. Please make sure that you're liking. This information is critical to our growth, building our tea time community. So Carmela, thank you so much for kicking us off today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks, let's jump right into our subject matter for today. A couple of weeks ago, when we started out this journey on the gift of being you, we talked about, first of all, the you of living, loving, learning, and legacy. We talked about these three areas. And hopefully go ahead and get your journal. Make sure that you have your journal available for you today, because we're going to dive into part number 3 today. So that was the first part of Tuesday this month. The second one, we talked about these 4 areas: the importance of originality and opportunity, your story of overcoming, and ownership, owning where we are, owning our greatness, owning our significance, owning who we are, owning our life message. Today, I thought about how the tyranny of the world, there are so many different demands for our life. There are demands, cultural forces, and influences upon who we are, and how important it is for us to begin to look at the tyranny of the world and how those things try to compete for our head space and our heart space. And this is real because of the life that we live, because of what we're inundating in culture. And so there are 4 areas, 4 forces, or 4 areas of tyranny that really are against the gift of being you. And it's important because these are forces or perspectives that constantly compete for our originality, compete for our attention. And so it's important that we look at these areas that really try to come against the gift of being you. So I want you to take some time and really think through these 4 areas so we can clear our head space. You can clear, it's kind of like a minefield. These things are there to try to disrupt who we are. And so I want to dive into this conversation, if you will. I definitely want your feedback on this today. Let's start out with the tyranny of fear. If we're going to be the gift of who we are, the new world must be a bold world. The tyranny of fear, what do I mean by that? This is about the information that we receive or content that we receive that produces a paralysis. It produces a stagnation. It produces an inability to advance. And so the new world that we're living in must be a bold world. It must be a bold one. And so I want us to think about areas that we maybe are under the hold or the influence of this particular tyranny of fear. A tyranny of fear, of dreading what might take place or what could happen, or, we're not sure. That there's anxiety that tries to step in. There's other perspectives that try to inundate us to produce fear in our minds and fear in our hearts. And so, folks, that's the root of anxiety, right? So the new world must be a bold world, and that is a world that says this: what's inside of you must be released, not contained. What's inside of you must be released and not contained. That's the importance. How do we fight the tyranny of fear? Is allowing ourselves to see what's inside of us to be released into the world and not contained. Not contained because of measuring, not contained because of comparing, not contained because of false narratives, not contained because of past narratives, or even narratives of the future, what if scenarios, and what may or may not based upon what we're seeing in our world. The new world must be a bold world. Now, I want you to think about this. Think about what you need to be bold in. And I want you to write that in the chat. What is an area that now, what's in you to be released, do you need to be bold in? Because it's not enough just to say we have ideas. It's now about changing the narrative and implementing, shifting the narratives from simply an idea to really seeing that idea implemented. And that's the world that we live in, a world that is bold and a world that is advancing. And you know what? You're part of that. You're critical to it. You're an important element of fighting against this tyranny of fear. The gift of being you puts tyranny of fear at a standstill when you recognize I will no longer contain who I am and why I am here and what I have to offer the global village, the global world that we're living in. So I want you to think about that. Take a moment here and think through, what is it that you need to be bold in? What do you need to step into? This is our tea time conversation today. What do you need to be bold in and step into? Let's take a moment and meditate on that. As we say at Tea Time in the Renewal Center, locate ourselves. So let's sit with this. Let's locate ourselves. And let's think through, what do I need to be bold in this new world that must be a bold one? Let's take a moment and think through that. And please go ahead and share this video as you're doing it. Like it, share it, tag your friends, tell them we're having tea time here at the Renewal Center. We're talking about the gift of being you. And go ahead and start putting your comments in the chat, and let's interact here. Let's get some hearts up, let's get some likes up, let's get some thumbs up, let's get some comments. This is our tea time. This is our resilience community. We're fostering and increasing resilience by how we're engaging each other. So please go ahead and place your information there in the chat, and let's have this dialogue today concerning the tyranny of fear. All right? So that's the first thing. I'm going to bring this back up again. And the image that I have for you is that there are breaks or certain forces that we must say, we're not going to allow you to contain us any longer. We won't allow those ideas, those perspectives, those influences to contain us. Okay? You must be meditating out there, thinking through this. All right, let's go to number 2. Number 2 is the tyranny of breaking news. The tyranny of breaking news. I put there, if news is so important, we will hear about it anyway. Instead, attention should be drawn to what is overlooked. What is overlooked? And I said, well, why are we focusing on that? Well, there's a tyranny of breaking news. There's so much misinformation. There's disinformation. There's accurate information. There's the source of information. So if news is so important, we're going to hear about it, right? We're going to hear about it anyway. We have our devices, right? We have all of our sites. We have apps. We have the capacity to receive information anytime that we need at the click of a button, right? Well, here it is. Attention should be drawn to what is overlooked. The gift of being you is really held back many times by the tyranny of breaking news. News goes out and people immediately get connected to the breaking news and not giving attention to what is overlooked. Because the breaking news is breaking news. It is now viral. We're inundated with it. We swim in the culture of it. And so because of that, we end up forgetting about what is overlooked. What's overlooked inside of our own lives, what's overlooked inside of our dreams, what's overlooked in terms of our vision, what's overlooked in terms of our emotional, mental health, relationship health, wherever we are in life. It's important that we give attention to what is being overlooked versus the tyranny of breaking news. Now, I want you to think about that too as well, and make sure we get some of this. Let's get the chats going, because I think it's important, folks, that as we begin to look at the tyranny of fear, there's also the tyranny of breaking news that's connected to that. The tyranny of what if, what's going to happen. I'm not sure what's going to happen in my world. We spend so much time in the breaking news, which we're going to hear about it anyway, that we're not drawn to what is now overlooked. And that's where our attention needs to be. Attention perhaps needs to be drawn to what you're not seeing as often because of the breaking news. So let's pause here for a moment and sit with these two concepts that we started out with today. First concept is the tyranny of fear, how the new world must be a bold one. And I'd like you please to go ahead and put in the chat, what is it that you need to be bold in and step into? That's number one. Number two, the tyranny of breaking news. What is it possibly that is being overlooked in your life because of breaking news? Because of breaking news. and misinformation and disinformation and this being inundated in this, what perhaps do I need to be drawn to that has been overlooked? So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and want to get your ideas, get your perspectives, if you will. Carmela says here that misinformation draws us in. Thank you for sharing that. Here's another perspective. These things cause us to be sidetracked. Absolutely, it does. Any other ideas? Please share. Let's think through this. I know that you're probably journaling. Perhaps you're taking some notes or you're reflecting. The gift of being you is so critical that the world's perspectives that we're in has tyrannical forces, and that we're discussing those today. The first one is fear. The second one is the tyranny of breaking news. How do you need to be bold? What do you need to be bold in? What do you need to step into that is trying to hold you back in the area of fear? And perhaps, what is it that you have overlooked? What have you overlooked? Because of the tyranny of breaking news. Let's think through this. Let's hear from the audience. Yes, it does distract us. Thank you, Michelle. What do you think it distracts us from? Thank you, Carmela, for sharing that too. Draws us in. What are we drawn into when you say misinformation draws us in? What are we drawn into? Monique says, I need to move beyond the idea phase of my writing and finish the implementation process. All right. So we got to be bold and move beyond ideation and into implementation. Absolutely. We live in a world where we must begin to bring our ideas forward. Why? Because nobody else is going to bring our ideas forward. When there's an idea and your story and your narrative is uniquely yours, we talked about originality last week, because it's uniquely yours, it must be you to bring it into the earth. So, how do we effectively respond? Let's sit with this, folks. Okay, I'm going to bring this back up one more time for us to review. Michelle answers, distracts us from our purpose or the path we're supposed to be in. Yes, it does. The journey of purpose, the journey of that path, the journey towards destiny, towards fulfillment, towards where we would like to see life go, many times it's inundated by the tyranny of fear and also the tyranny of breaking news. How many are sitting with these questions today? So let's consider that because your life is a gift, and we've been sharing about the gift of being you in our tea time, and that the new world must be a bold new world, in that the tyranny of breaking news can become so overwhelming that our attention is drawn away from what is overlooked versus our attention being drawn to what is overlooked because of the tyranny of breaking news. Why? So that you and I can begin to shift from an idea state to an implement state. We must move forward in implementing. Tyranny is designed to stall. It is designed to confuse. It's designed to constrain and restrain us. Even if it's not a physical force, it's an ideological force. It's a conceptual force. It's a philosophical one. It is a mindset one. It's a mental one. That's why it's important that we sit with these types of dialogue and begin to think through certain things that are tyrannical forces. Yes, it is important to stay focused in spite of what's happening. And yet, it seems like we still are inundated. I think about that many times. And how many conversations have you heard where people are discussing so much about what's political ideologies or the politics of religion, right? Or the religion of politics, whichever one we want to think through, how that many times becomes overwhelming. When our last president was in office, there were so much people that were so overwhelmed with what was happening in our political life, which of course we should be concerned with, but yet the breaking news many times can cause us to not look at what we need to be focused on. And sometimes our attention needs to be drawn to what is being overlooked, not what's being forced in front of us on our tablets, on our phones, in our emails, in our social media pages. And then next thing you know, we forget to look at what's critical to us being who we need to be. Absolutely. Breaking news can be constantly bombarding us. Thank you for sharing that. Chiquita says it can deplete us. Yes. It can incapacitate us. Why? Because our confidence in who we are now is diminished. Thank you for sharing that. Carmela says here, we need ample time to process things and breaking news. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because it can cause a reaction. It can cause an action. It can cause inaction. There are so many different ways we respond to what we're seeing and what we're hearing. So again, let's think through this and let's really critically think through what it is that is inundating us and the tyranny of fear, the tyranny of breaking news. If we let breaking news in, it's like a boat that lets water in it to the point where it capsizes. That can happen to us in our head and our heart space. And these are real forces. These are real influences. And sometimes it becomes the root of conversations. It's kind of like someone that you talk to and you hear the same thing over and over again and you wonder, okay, wait a minute, how are we going to move from this tyranny of fear or the tyranny of this breaking news that's increasing anxiety? That's why it's critical for us to do what we're doing in Tea Time. Let's sit with these areas. Let's take time like we're doing now to journal, to write our responses, to say I no longer want to stay in the idea phase because idea and implement are two different areas. And so these tyrannical forces are there to stall us where we don't move into implementing. Important. Erica says here, looking past the smoke screens. Yes. And yet those screens are still there. So it's important that we're able to take time to look beyond those. All right? Let's move to the third point, the third tyranny. Let me know if this is reaching you. What's your feedback? What are your thoughts on this whole subject that we're having this month about the gift of being you? We're in part number 3 today. We've been really thinking through. So if you want to catch the previous episodes, please make sure you go back the last 2 weeks and look at those, view those tea times as well. All right, let's move on to the third point. The tyranny of health and beauty. Now, don't let body image rule your life from the politics of aesthetics. There is growing movement against body image versus health and not allowing this tyranny of imaging ruling your life from the politics of aesthetics. What is that? How we define what is considered beauty, what is considered beautiful. See, your life is not in a market, even though you may think it is. Think about this now, because if you simply are a commodity, that means you can be commodified. And if you can be commodified, you can be controlled. If you can be commodified, then you become consumable. You become a product of consumption. So the tyranny of health and beauty is to cause us to look past our mental, spiritual, and physical health and focus on body imaging ruling us because of the politics of aesthetics. Now, I want us to sit with this one today. Can anybody, I know you can't wave at me, but can you identify with this? That this is a tyrannical force? that this is a culture force, that this is a subculture force? Let's think on this. Let's sit with this and begin to think, how have I allowed the politics of aesthetics to potentially cause me to spend more attention in that arena and in that realm of thinking, instead of looking at what's inside of me that needs to come forth and be released? See, the tyranny of health and beauty gets us to the place where body image begins to rule versus a totality or a holistic life of health. Somebody quiet out there today. Want to get your ideas. What are your thoughts on this particular tyrannical force? The tyranny of health and beauty. As you notice in the image, these are forces that are trying to come and begin to think through. We need to think through these. These are mindsets, perhaps, mentality, mental forces. The tyranny of health and beauty. Can anybody identify with that? Let's hear some thoughts here from the audience. Monique says there are great perspectives, very relevant to today's issues we're facing. Thank you. I hope that it's helpful. It's glad to hear that it's helpful. Thank you so much. So anybody else, any thoughts on that? Any, maybe what you've seen, what you've observed, what needs to be considered? Any other thoughts? This is a powerful discussion today because we can operate on autopilot. And allow these tyranny factors can insert into our personal lives if we are not careful. Yes, thank you for sharing that. Be transformed. That's Carmela Head's page. Let's think through this, because as we are experiencing these tyrannical forces, perhaps we don't know they're getting in to our lives. It's important. Absolutely. Dr. Paul Brown, thank you so much for sharing this, Dad. Not allowing the adjectives of the world to dictate how I should be. They are not the standard. We can say adjectives and objectives. How about both? The descriptors and the definers. Let's not allow those to dictate. But yet, for some reason, they do. For some reason, they seem to get, and I like what was shared previously about operating on autopilot. Sometimes those can become insert as a part of our lives if we're not careful, if we're not aware, if we're not mindful. These conversations like we're having today causes us to move into the place of awareness so that we can look at potentially, are there tyrannical factors that are influencing us? Tyranny of fear, the tyranny of breaking news, the tyranny of health and beauty. Lastly, the tyranny of growth. Now that part means just because you're progressive, that's an idea, it's not law. Here's what I mean. Many times we can be inundated with progress and progression that we don't take time to pause. We gotta grow, we gotta implement, we gotta do, we gotta constantly move, and we're not sure where we're really going because we're not taking time to take care of who we are or take care of each other. The importance of a global compassion and helping each one of us, like we're fostering resilience today, is that when we are in this space of the tyranny of growth, progression really is an idea, but it shouldn't become law. And so we become self-inflating, self-aggrandizing. So it's important, folks, that we begin to recognize the realities of potential tyrannical forces that try to begin to overwhelm us with who we are and why we are and where we're going and how we're getting there, because there are forces that try to stall us and stop us and deceive us and redirect us. Breaking news and fear and the politics of aesthetics and the tyranny of growth and idea that I constantly have to produce. I got to stay in production mode. Now, of course, there are some where we do need to produce because you've been working on that same vision for 6 years, 3 years, 6 months. At some point in time, we do know there must be implementation. But this particular ideal about the tyranny of growth is about just being in a place of progression for the sake of it, and then now it becomes a law instead of it becoming an idea to live by. What are your thoughts today? What are your thoughts on these tyrannical forces? That's what I'll talk today. This is tea time. And then what do we do at tea time? We already located ourselves. We're resting. But today, it's about resilience. Let's build this in each other today. Because there are tyrannical forces, and I wanted to drive home this conversation so deeply in this month of August about the gift of being you. This is part 3. We have part 4 next week. I'm just excited about all of this. I can't wait till next week already. You know, these conversations are really helping us engage in how we might approach our journaling in this next week. I want you to really consider these 4 areas, and perhaps maybe draw a quadrant or draw 4 boxes and begin to think about the tyranny of fear, the tyranny of breaking news, the tyranny of health and beauty, the tyranny of growth, and begin to develop your internal growth plan while you meditate, while you pray, while you're in reflection, and begin to think perhaps breaking news has overwhelmed me. Perhaps tyranny of fear has tried to consume me. Maybe there's this politics of aesthetics that tried to rule my thinking, and perhaps I've let body image rule or influence me to some degree. Bring this back up one more time for us to see. So let's take a step back and let's think through these 4 areas, especially the last 2. How do you need to move from idea to implementing? Because these tyrannical forces block us from implementation. I say that because we live in a world where we have access to just about every bit of information possible. There's a seminar for everything. There's a workshop for everything. There's a webinar for everything. There's a conference, a convocation, a convention for everything. There's a podcast for everything. So if we have so much information, then why don't we see transformation? If we have access to information, why don't we see transformation? Can I share with you today in tea time? Perhaps it's because of the tyrannical forces. Perhaps it's fear. Maybe it's the tyranny of breaking news. Maybe it's this tyranny of health and beauty and image. And maybe it's the tyranny of growth that I have to produce so much to where now instead of it being an idea, now it's a law that I just got to live this. I have to be this. I have to show up constantly at 100%. Nobody says you have to do that. It's actually okay to say I'm taking a break from having to be something that I'm not, or that I'm forced to be and forced to do because of tyrannical forces. Boy, tea time is lit today, as they say, right? I didn't know tea time was going to be like this today. Oh, well. Cheers. All right, so I'm going to take a few notes here because I need to really take a note on what was just shared. I'm really thinking about this, and I'd like us to really consider as we close out our tea time today what tyrannical forces are trying to really keep us from living in implementation. And what are we going to do in order for us to move forward with this? Do you need another workshop? Do you need another seminar? Is there information that you need to be around? Are there relationships that you need to add to your life that's going to stretch you? Is there disconnection from information that you don't need anymore, that's outdated, that's antiquated? Can I ask this? Has your information alienated you? Ooh, you get it, and then it separates you from who you are. It causes you to disconnect. So here's my challenge for you Tea Time Tuesday renewers. Here's the challenge. My challenge to you is to look at the information you currently have and ask yourself, is it leading to transformation that is sustainable? That's sustainable. Or do we need to have more ideation conversations or more implementation conversations? You know, it's like I'm at that hump. I'm at this hump, but then here comes the tyranny. I'm at that hump, but here comes the tyranny. I hope that this is connecting with you today. This is one of those conversations with the executive director of the Renewal Center. If we're going to be renewed, we need to have conversations about how we're going to reform culture. And many times we need to have a conversation that says, with the information that I currently have, is my information shifting me, moving me into transformation that is sustainable? You know something is sustainable when it's qualitative, and it's quantitative. I can qualify for it because I see the qualities emerging from within me, and it's quantitative because I see the measuring and the growth of it over time. I see measurable progress within reasonable time and its sustainability in our transformation. That is some nuggets coming out here today. Can I get some likes, some thumbs up, some hearts, some shares, some chats, some comments? You know why? Because what's happening is we're fostering resilience here today. Today is like resilience conversation. This is a resilience conversation. And this is what we need to be in our resilience community here at the Renewal Center. This is why we're here. We're here for these types of dialogue, these kinds of discussions that's going to move us into implementing what's been developed inside of us. All right? Sustainability, absolutely. Sustainable transformation, absolutely. Yes, there is something called momentary transformation. Yeah, we can be momentarily, but you know what? There's also this space where we want to be sustained, where we don't go back. Once the cocoon is created, it's never momentary. It's now going to be sustainable once the butterfly, it can never go back to being what it was. My question to us today is, have we allowed, without even knowing it, sometimes subconsciously, sometimes we get so much information, it's like, why do we need additional information if I have not used my current information? Then why am I getting more of it? See, that's the danger of having so much access to information and content, that we can get it, and as a result of getting that information, now we need to ask ourselves, and I'm asking myself this right now, okay, well, what the idea that I have with the information I currently have, has this produced sustainable transformation inside of my life in every area? I think it was June or May, we talked about the dimensions of wellness with one of our guests. I think we can refer back to that particular conversation. And that was a whole pendulum of 8 different aspects about wellness and the importance of having this type of dialogue by making sure that we're looking at the tyrannical forces. And I know this is kind of like a double entendre type of conversation today, because we're dealing with, the gift of being you on one side, then on the other side, we're talking about tyranny. Why do we use the word tyranny? I use the word tyranny because its goal is to entrap us in stagnation. It's designed to pull my attention. You ever try to talk to someone on the phone and you know they're not listening to you? And it's kind of like you're having a serious conversation and they're kind of checking out. That's what happens too. That's how we treat our lives when these tyrannical forces come. We start checking out. Think about the times you may have checked out because of a tyrannical force, because of breaking news, because of this whole tyranny of the politics of aesthetics. Or perhaps this idea to have to produce, instead of it being an idea, it now becomes a law that I gotta be this boss, whatever that means. You see, there are tyrannical forces that we want to be able to take a look at, and I want to make sure, and I encourage you, take some time this week, between this week and next week, because I have something that I was going to show you another slide, but I'm going to wait till next week, and we're going to dig deeper into that part next week on our Tea Time Tuesday. All right, so let's pause for a moment and let's think about what our takeaways are from today's Tea Time. I'd like everyone that's watching, go ahead, please, if you will, in the comments, put in the comments, what's your takeaway? What are your takeaways today? What are your takeaways? What are some of the areas that have challenged you or charged you today and hopefully eventually change? Anybody else want to share? Please go ahead and put that in the chat. While you're typing out your ideas, go ahead and think through this. Think through these 4 areas. I'll place them back up on the screen for you to view. And I'd like you to also consider, if you will, for those of you that are joining us regularly and for the first time, I want to encourage you to go ahead and download our mobile app. We do have a mobile app for the Renewal Center. Our desire is to be that prophetic center of thought, voice, art, and action. So when we use the word prophetic, it basically means that you see your life and you see others the way that God sees you. And so when you understand that, then you can move in your thought, your voice, your art, and your action. And you do that every single day in all facets and all spheres of your existence. And so that's why we have our Tea Time. So I want to encourage you, download the mobile app, go to your Google store, go to your Apple store, type in the Renewal Center, and you'll see our logo that will come up. You can access our information. We have some new content that we're curating and creating right now using our digital app. We have a blog. We have coming up next month in September. Every single Monday, you'll get a motivational renewal word each Monday. And we will ask you every Monday, what was your renewal moment? How are you renewed today? We'll ask you those kinds of questions so that we can constantly experience transformation. So I want to invite you to that, to download those apps, as well as for those of you that are maybe in the North Carolina area, you're passing through, please come by and see us here at 159 Church Street in the historic district of Concord, North Carolina. We're in the suburbs here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And also feel free to connect with us through a donation. We are a nonprofit organization. And so if you'd like to donate, there are several ways you can give by downloading our mobile app, or also feel free to donate by texting Renewal Center to the number that's streaming there, 888-364-4483. I'll leave that up there and so that you can share that with others as well. So, all right, let's go back to our comments here. All right, some takeaways for today. I'm going to bring those up on the screen. It says, I submit that our mindsets can impede that sustainable transformation. Intake of information overwhelms, and we implode. And I also think momentum is key. Thinking out loud. Thank you for thinking out loud. All right. Dr. Paul Brown, we should keep pressing, making adjustments, and appropriate principles that are absolute. So when faced with tyrannical forces, one can stand firm, yet move forward. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that. Please keep sharing your takeaways today from today's Tea Time. Erica says, be mindful of my personal capacity so that I do not become stagnant with information overload. To intentionally give myself timelines to apply and execute on what I have already learned to progressively see progress and impact. Thank you for sharing that. Let's keep going. Monique says, my takeaway today is from the Tyranny of Fear. I must step beyond where I can see and trust God for the next phase of my journey. Yes, step beyond. Anybody else, please share. What are your takeaways from today? We're talking about the gift of being you, part 3. Talking about the tyrannical forces. What are your takeaways from today? Carmela says, fire is her takeaway today. Absolutely. We must be on fire about the gift of who we are. Absolutely. Anybody else? This is some great content. See, this is what resilience is. Resilience is developed when everyone participates and offers who they are. That's why we have tea time. Sometimes we've done meditation, other times we've just simply done resting activities. We've done reflective types of action and events, but today is a conversation that we're having, and I wanted to exhort, but also inspire you and challenge you in these areas that I've observed within the past year and a half of living more in a more targeted fashion of the different tyrannical forces or factors that influence who we are. All right. Well, what's the confirmation there, Mac? Tell us about that confirmation. What's your top takeaway with the confirmation? Tactically, what is it that you're going to work on? Tactically, practically, what are you going to work on, folks? I want you to think through this, and let's shift into application of our information. How can we advance this and move us forward in these areas? Anybody else want to share before we finish for today? And again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and connecting with us here at the Renewal Center for our Tea Time Tuesday. We are here every single Tuesday, so make sure you get your tea ready and connect with us next Tuesday, noon Eastern Standard Time. Next week's discussion, the gift of being you, part number 4. And we're going to have some practical activities. So make sure you have your journal with you. Make sure you're prepared with that. Also, set your schedule to be here and be available so that you can participate in our community. So we're so grateful that you came on today. And again, I want to remind you, please feel free to donate to the Renewal Center. You can reach us through our website, www.therenewalcenters.com/give, or you can download our mobile app from your Apple Store, your Google Store, your Android Store. Type in Renewal, and lastly, of course, the information there that's streaming down at the bottom of the screen. All right. So again, thank you so much. Absolutely, you're right, Chiquita. Revelations generated in community. That's right. That's important. We get that through community, connecting with each other. So if there's any last comments, please feel free to put those in the chat. I know we've gone over a lot today. You're welcome, Monique. Thank you for coming on. Macra says, following through on my plans of not allowing fear to regulate your decisions. Absolutely. Matter of fact, we're in agreement with you that you will do that. So give us a status check next Tuesday on how you're making some small steps. All right? Because you are making steps today by even putting that out in the community. And we agree with you on that. All right, everyone. Thanks again for connecting with us here for the Tea Time Tuesday. I'm Patrick Brown, Executive Director of Culture and Context here at the Renewal Center. We are the prophetic center for thought, voice, art, and action. Please share this today. You are welcome. Thank you so much for connecting with us today. Everyone have a very good day. And until then, we'll see you soon.